Well, freaking hello, everybody. We're back with another episode of The Rec Room. And if you can believe this, it's episode 16, which kind of crazy. I'm not trying to give myself one of these here, little pat on the back, but it's kind of cool. I mean, we started this show on Halloween night, October 31st, and we've been doing it ever since. And I feel so fortunate, really, really blessed to say that we've done 16 episodes. We're getting going. We're having great conversations that oftentimes have left me speechless. Now, I say that because this conversation we're about to have, I get the sense is going to do the same thing to myself and to all of you out there, and maybe even to her. This woman sitting to my right on camera, or I'm not sure, maybe it'll be the left. Her name is Jayhlin Swain. And if you all out there don't know who Jayhlin is, let me tell you, Jayhlin has become an honorable mention in the West Coast Conference as a libero for the Pacific Tigers, and was at Michigan State for a time, which is important because her moment at Michigan State is what allowed me to hear about who she was and a little bit more of her character. Now, the only thing that I wish was different is that Clark Jocelyn, my guy, could have introduced us while she was here because it would have been sweet to have a conversation in person, quite like the one we've been able to have off camera here today. In fact, we don't need to reference it that much, but I'll tell you one thing. I think we've done about 3.5 podcasts already, wouldn't you say? but
Yeah.
but Jayhlin, thank you for taking the time. I only heard glowing things about who you are and what you have to do with the communities that you're in by way of impacting them with your energy, your enthusiasm, and your faithfulness in your background and your upbringing, which that brings us to why we're here today. So, thank you for coming on. And how are you?
Thanks so much for having me. I'm doing really good. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm even better now that we're rolling this show. I think it's been super cool to stay in touch with you and hear kind of what's going on, how things are progressing, out there in the NorCal region. But where I want to start us, Jayhlin, is like, tell me a little bit about your relationship with your faith and with Jesus as you've been able to. I know one of the things we spoke on was growing in your faith and learning more about him and growing in relationship with him. So take me through a little bit of that.
Okay, so I actually didn't really grow up like in church or anything like that, but I did actually find my way, I guess, towards God through Michigan State. One of my roommates, Gracie Danziger,
Mm.
she actually asked me one day if I wanted to go to church with her. And she asked me multiple times, but I was very like hesitant about it. But then as soon as I went that first time, I kind of just felt like free in a way, I guess. And I felt loved and connected to someone, even though obviously like I can't see him or anything, but the spirit, I guess, just kind of overtook me when I went to church. And then through a lot of life experiences, I've been able to truly try to embody Jesus and just really try to grow my faith with him. And it's growing. I think I'm learning a lot. But it's been a growing process, but I think me transferring has really developed my relationship with him.
Mm, most certainly. And, I think like when I consider having conversations with athletes who are also believers, like the very common thing that I hear is at one time, my sport that I was in was my identity. But now I understand that my identity isn't, through my sport. It's not derived from my performance, but rather it's the fact that I'm son or daughter of Jesus. And I say that because Jayhlin, like a lot of your identity is shaped through your experiences. And I wanted to ask you is like, after having gone through a couple years of college volleyball and having been on this journey of growth that you spoke on, like, what are some of the other things that make up your identity and who you are today?
I would say a lot of things that help me to be like the person I am is definitely the people I surround myself with.
Sure.
Um, I think I'm starting to build a community of people that I love to be around on a
Mm,
constant basis. Obviously, my teammates are some of them, but I think they inspire me to, I think, be open-minded to a lot of things, and to always try my hardest in everything that I do. And I think even just any experience outside of volleyball, like whether I'm going hiking with some of my teammates or like taking trips to like Pismo Beach or like doing different things, making like going on trips to San Francisco and experiencing like a new cafe or to just trying to do like new things, I think, and documenting um my memories, I think is a huge thing. Like I love to take pictures of like a beautiful sunset or sunrise or like when someone's laughing or like when me and my friends find something funny, like I'm usually recording because it's good to look back on the memory, I think, of
sure.
something good because everybody has those down moments. So I think just remembering like what God has, I guess, put in my life and just constantly thinking back on those videos and obviously posting about them, whether it's through TikTok or like silly dances through TikTok with friends or just, you know, just being there, I guess.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's actually a way that I hadn't kind of conceptualized it before. It's like the conditions and the things that happen to you, they're a result of God's provision, right? Like one of the centerpieces to his character is to provide for us and to put us on a path that's been paved by him, right? And I love what you said because it's like now through that action of making sure that you're reflecting on it and you're remembering it, you are able to glorify this is what he's doing and what he's done through my life. That makes sense to me.
Mm.
Now, when I was asking you about, or rather, I'm sorry, no, when I was asking a uh, mutual friend of ours, Julia Bishop, about what I should ask you, one of the things that she mentioned was ask her about the power of prayer through her process of moving from a school to a school. Because we know this, you know this better than I, better than most, that when you decide to do that and you put yourself out there to be picked up, so to say, by somewhere else and have someone else, have another coach put their faith in you for what you can give on the court, it takes a lot of faith in its own right to make that choice. So I was wondering, like, were there any moments where you were just in prayer and like seeking counsel from the Lord of like, I think I'm there. I think I'm ready to make that change. And like, here's what I want it to look like. Talk to me about that side of things.
So before I actually made like the decision to transfer, I think I was praying and asking him like to just show me signs of things
Mm,
that are meant to be in my life because I think sometimes it's obviously kind of hard to like decipher or tell like what's given by God and sometimes what's given by Satan because the deception part of it is real. And so I would say just really listening to the signs that were given to me, um, like from God, I think was a big help as to why I should transfer. Um, as for me during the transfer process, that was really, really hard. And I think that's definitely where my faith shaped me into who I am today.
mm,
Um, because it's hard to, I think I was able to learn who I was and like how God kind of created me.
sure.
But it was hard to understand why other people weren't seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, obviously. But
Mm,
I think just kind of trusting his process and asking him, like, hey, like, I just want to go somewhere where I feel valued, where I feel loved, where I'm surrounding myself with other like-minded people or like-minded individuals as myself. And I think that genuinely helped. And there were moments where I was literally just laying on the floor in my room and just like, God, like, please just like help me. Like, am I gonna be like okay? Like, am I even gonna find like a new home after like Michigan State? Like, did I almost like make a mistake? But then this is actually like a big part of like me believing in God and like trusting him and knowing that he really is real was I just felt like someone kind of hugging me one day and just like saying that everything was going to be okay. And I think that was literally a week before I committed to UoP. So
Mm,
I think just being able to just sit with him and just know that like he'll eventually show the signs, but just like constantly needing him, I think, and just sitting there and just telling him that I need him, I think helped me to, I think definitely be where I'm at and know that I'm meant to be where I'm at and not, it's not a mistake. Like I was, as sad as it is to say, I was meant to leave Michigan State, but I'm also very happy and very like grateful to be at UoP because this is exactly where I needed to be. And I think I'm realizing that this is exactly where I want to be.
mm, mm. If you're willing to share it, I would love for everyone out there to hear because you were telling me off camera that there was a moment where someone close to you kind of said, it might be time to go, kind of gave advice. And it sounded to me like when you shared it earlier, like it was a surprise a little bit. And that was one of the, as you said, the signs that were important for you of like, oh, okay, maybe there's more to trust in here of like this, it means something whenever this person mentions their mindset. So talk to me about that if you're willing.
Yeah, so I think it was definitely hard for me to make a decision of whether I should leave or not. And this person I trust very much, especially with some of the major decisions that don't involve emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where sometimes I usually go to them when I just need like a straight up answer where it's like, hey, like no emotions, like no, like you shouldn't do that. Or yes, I think that is a good idea. So when this person had said that, yeah, like I think it is time for you to make a change in your life, it was like, dang, like yeah, you're right. Like I probably like I guess this is a sign that God kind of brought me to was hearing them tell me that it is time for me to make a change in my life with the schools and my volleyball career and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing that I think has kind of surprised me a little bit about Michigan State is that the faith community is pretty strong, which has been cool to see and engage in. But to that point, I wanted to ask you is like, how has your experience in growing with your faith been at Pacific?
I would say um, so far it's grown a lot between me and God because I spend a lot of time doing it in my room
Sure.
or like praying in my room or like I'll watch videos or like podcasts. Like one of my favorite ones is Emmy Moore
Hmm.
um,
Mhm.
on YouTube usually, but I just like how she in today's society, especially with like our age group, it's kind of cool to see someone that's really like glorifying God and like knowing that the best way that you can find answers and build your faith is literally by reading the word and by reading the Bible and getting to know who God is. I think it's helped me out. And then honestly, like literally a couple weeks ago, not even lying to you, a couple weeks ago, I was like laying in bed on Saturday night and I was like, I kind of want to like, I've been wanting to go to a church and like try out a new church because I haven't been able to really try or like have the courage to go to one out here in California.
I see.
Um, and like especially by myself because it's very nerve-wracking and kind of like a like that's a lot. Like it can be overwhelming at moments. But I was like, you know what? Like I think this is my time to just go. Like be comfortable with being uncomfortable in this moment. And I think I started searching up some of like the churches that are near me. And I ended up going to this one called Life Song in Stockton. And I've been going there the past couple weeks and I love it. And I go to we call it okay at Michigan State they call it AIA,
Yeah.
but we call it like TFC here, which is Tigers for Christ.
Okay. Mhm.
And so we do the same thing. And whenever I can, I usually work on Wednesdays around that time, which is when the meetings happen. So I can't usually go to TFC, but whenever I can, I try to go to it and just kind of get to know the other athletes that are there that are have the same faith that I do. But actually, as of recently, within the past like 2 weeks, I found a lot of people on my team that want to build their faith or already have that faith and just felt like they didn't have anybody to talk to. So I think we're starting to build that community within my team, which is nice, and to hopefully bring that to Stockton and just really glorify him and know that like, hey, like these are some really great churches. Like if you want to build your relationship with them, like please do, like we're here if you need us. And I
Mm,
think we're really doing that and really building our own community from something that's a little bit smaller to something that's big.
sure.
Um, and there was also a girl on our women's soccer team. I forgot her name, but she went to um, UTC actually.
Hmm.
Um, and she was like the first Pacific like student athlete to go to UTC. And I thought that was really cool. And like I've been able to kind of talk with her a little bit. And like now I want to go to UTC and represent Pacific and maybe have other people like just build a community within UoP of like people who have faith.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. See, that, Jaylen, was a great answer. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's pretty dang cool to be on that kind of enterprising frontier of that, and making that move. Because I feel like what's been really cool, and I've been talking to some people, one guy in particular, um, Jason Romano, he is one of the producers for, if you've heard of the Instagram account, Sports Spectrum. They do a lot of stuff within evangelizing to athletes, and he's one of those producers over there. And he was like, I called him when I was home for break, and he told me, he was like, dude, you got to realize, like, the type of outreach that college campuses and college athletes are having right now, it has never been like that. And it's at a point where it's pretty dang special what's happening and how many people are openly praising and glorifying and worshiping in interviews, on podcasts, with their eye black if they're playing a football game, there are these different vessels to do it. So I love what you said because that makes sense. Is like it feels like it's time to bring the light to, impacted, or I should say unimpacted campuses that now we've members at, who are willing to do it. I got to ask you something. This is a shot in the dark, but you referenced baseball, so I'm going to ask because you and I were talking about how we like, know a bunch of people who know each other. Do you know any of your baseball guys at Pacific?
I know some of them, yeah.
Okay. Have you heard the
Not a whole
name?
bunch.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to try it anyway. Have you
Okay.
heard the name Max Bleddy?
No, but I see a lot of them
Yeah.
around a lot, but I don't really introduce myself like that because I get a little nervous
Sure.
like introducing myself to just like new people like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
I might know him if I like saw a picture of him, but I'll look him up later. But
Oh, most definitely. No, Max is my guy. We graduated high school together. And it just I would love to hear that. If you're like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Max, I would be like, whoa. I would shoot him a text and go, oh, okay, I gotta talk to you. uh, but I think another part of what you said is really important because college sports are hard, right? Like there are difficulties with upholding your standing as a human being first and foremost, and then like trying to get through the academic rigors of things. And then there's athletics. There's a lot of layers there. Like I was wondering from your perspective, what is kind of something that's been redeeming to you, or like what's been one of the more positive things about your time as a collegiate athlete?
I would say I'm definitely learning how to manage my time and also put myself first.
Sure.
Um, because like you said, like we do a lot of things. Like
Hmm.
we have to give our all within our sport. We have to give our all within academics.
Yeah.
But then we also have to like give our all to God sometimes. If you are faithful, you also have to like do all these other things and like try being like you have to be a great friend, even though if you got up at like 4:30 in the morning or like 5 in the morning, like you still gotta like be the best person you can be. And that can be hard and draining. So I think just really prioritizing that any free time that I have, usually like to myself or to like journal or to read the Bible or to go and do something that I like, which is usually go to like Ulta or Sephora
Okay.
or
Yeah.
go on a walk or I do like to read. Like I love reading books and that like help me to get mentally stronger. So I would say like reading sometimes or if I do have a free moment, I do want to hang out with a friend, like I'll call up one of my friends, be like, hey, like you want to hang out? You want to go, I don't know, get Starbucks, get Dutch Bros, like do anything. I think is a good way. And just like being able to manage my time and prioritize things is, I would say, like I'm proud of myself for doing, for still being able to put myself first while also doing all these other tasks that are asked of me.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that you you mentioned to me earlier was how Stockton can be compared to East Lansing a little bit.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little run down over here, but it's still, it has its moments.
No, don't say run down. Tell me it's charming. Come on now, Jay
It's
Swain.
amazing. I love it. Well, okay, but to be fair,
Yeah,
campus is so much different than the rest of
sure.
Stockton. Like like when I'm on campus and I'm like in the middle of campus, I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm in Stockton. Like it looks like a East Coast campus
Mm,
or like a
hmm.
Midwest. Like it looks like completely different on the inside of it, but like the outsides of it, is still like Stockton because it's a big like where a lot of like imports and stuff like that come in and
Sure.
like areas like it's not as bad, but like obviously some things happen just like how they happen everywhere else. But yeah, it's definitely there's moments where I'm like, wow, like this kind of looks like East Lansing. Like it's kind of weird, but like it's like I'm like, no, like I'm in Stockton. I'm in Stockton. I'm in Stockton. Like
Sure.
I'm not East Lansing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Cool, cool. Hey, tell me tell me about when you get an off day. Like, what does that look like for you? How are you spending your time in and around campus with friends? Like, what is your dream off day for Miss Jayhlin Swain?
Okay, there's two different types of off days. So for me, there's usually like Saturdays, which I feel like are usually different than my Sundays. But the other, so we had on MLK Day, me and some of my teammates went to the beach courts because the weather is so nice out here that we are able to play beach outside. And I would say I woke up, I made like my breakfast, I had like some coffee, and I went to go play beach with my teammates for a couple of hours. We were playing like really upbeat, nice music. And then I ended up, did a little Bible study with some of my teammates and talked about what we learned in church the day before. And I feel like that is usually like an ideal off day or just like relaxing or still being with my friends. Or if it's like a Sunday, for instance, like I usually wake up early, again, I have to eat. So I'll make like my breakfast, have my
Gotta eat.
coffee. And then I'll usually go to church. I usually go to like the morning service because I work, I coach at a volleyball club.
Mm,
So
hmm.
I usually will like go to church. Usually I'll drink my coffee during church, take my notes, and then I'll end up driving to work after that and I'll go to work and then I'll come back and then I either just relax and watch a movie or a show that I'm watching currently, or I'll sometimes meal prep. It just kind of depends on the day. So I kind of just go based off of what I'm feeling that off day.
Mm, I see. Absolutely. Man, that's it right there. What you said about the weather, I'm just like, dang it. I'm looking outside and there's still freaking 8 inches of snow on the ground. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
I'm looking out here and it's like blue skies. Like it's nice.
Yeah, it must feel good, huh?
Yeah,
Uh,
it definitely does.
that's hilarious. Wow. Well, gosh, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that whole weather discrepancy. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. But before we go, I got a couple more things. Here's what I'm thinking about. Number one is I want to know about if you have any favorite stories or verses or passages from the word that you kind of reflect back on that are core to you. Or are there any of those that you have?
Okay, I'm still trying to learn some verses because like I said, I'm still relatively like new and I'm still learning.
Most
But
definitely.
I think some of the things that I would say I'm really trying to embody is um finding joy in the present moment.
Hmm.
Um and just knowing that like this moment right now is meant to happen and it's gonna lead you like wherever God wants it to lead like you to. So I feel like also trusting like the process and stuff like that. Um and like trusting his I'm trying to remember because I literally just saw this verse the other day. I don't remember where it's from, but it was something about like trusting like today because like God is God like had you be in the past for like a reason and had you go through what you went through for a reason. And like he's the one that's worrying about your future and has it like all planned out so that you can just focus on like the moment and just like be in the present. So I think for me, it's really just finding joy in the present is my favorite thing because, like we said before, like being a student athlete can be very overwhelming. Um, and especially for me, because I also work while on top of being a student athlete. So it's kind of overwhelming at moments. But I think just finding joy in what I'm doing and trying not to complain and being like, no, like I'm blessed to have a job where I coach volleyball, like the one thing I know and that I love, while also working with some of my friends. Like I have friends that are at my job, like I get to be around them. And then I'm blessed to have a home that I call UoP. Like a year ago today, I was like living with my parents because I'm still in the like portal. Like I didn't know where my home was going to be. I didn't feel completely included because I'm a student at Michigan State, but I'm doing it online, so I'm at home in California.
Right.
So I'm like in this weird stage. So I think being grateful for where I'm at and really embracing the moment for what it is and being like, no, like I have all these things because I prayed about it and that's God promised me these things and he gave it to me. So I think really just trusting that.
Is there anything that you find yourself praying over often? Is there any kind of habitual prayer that you're praying? Or would you say it's more situational, whatever's coming,
Um,
whatever's current?
I would say in the mornings it's usually the same. I feel like I usually like so we have to wake up really, really early, like
Yeah.
4:30, 5 o'clock early, and have to be in the locker room around like 5:30. So I usually am like instead of being like, oh, like I don't want to wake up, I'm like, thank you God for allowing me to like breathe, to wake up, to walk, to be
Mm,
able to play volleyball, to be able to have teammates that I love and that love me. I'm blessed to have coaches that I have. Like I'm blessed to be able to wake up and have this opportunity to do these things that you have presented with me today that somebody else is praying for that I get to have. So I think usually just waking up and being praying for and just being thankful for what I have. And I would say at night I usually kind of just almost like vent to him like he's a friend and also like ask him for things and just like kind of let him know that I'm always going to need him and that it's not just situational or like a little trend. It's just like no, like I genuinely like love the Lord and like I want to glorify him and I want to embrace him and I want to like really just embody who like Jesus is. So I think just kind of venting to him and acting as if he's like right next to me or holding my hand or giving me a hug or whatever,
mhm.
I think is what I usually do like at night. And then I usually have a devotion, like I have like a devotional book, but there's one that has like a morning and like a night one. And at the end of the night one, there's like a question of like based off of like what the theme was for the day. So I usually will journal about that and answer the question. And then like I'm studying Psalms right now, so I'm just kind of going in depth where I have like a highlighter. I'm like really trying to understand the context and like the in depths of it so I can truly understand him and what he's trying to portray in the
Mm, most definitely. I love what you said about having a multi-pronged process. Like there's always some area that you're working on, or there's always some kind of process that you get back to. I think that's tremendous just for learning and growth. So I love what you said.
Thank
Hey,
you.
oh, absolutely. We're doing a new segment as of a couple shows ago that's called Rolling Loud on the Rec Room. And I was wondering, would you want to partake in it? It's more like a rapid fire type thing. Just a couple questions, couple short, like one word or like phrase answers.
Sure.
Most
Why
definitely.
not?
So, without further ado, this is Rolling Loud on the Rec Room. Jayhlin, answer me this. How would you describe your volleyball career in a couple words or one word or a phrase?
Empowering and a learning experience.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I love this. I'm gonna hit you with this one. I've been sitting on this one for a long time. When you think of the phrase California love, what do you think of?
I think of freedom and I think of Tupac.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Wow. That's good. And then lastly, Jaylen, before we get out of here, I gotta ask you something. Is what how do I want to phrase this? Oh yeah, there we go. In 2025, it will be a successful year if you do what?
Um, build a strong relationship with God,
Mhm.
I would say is my actual answer. Because to me, everything else doesn't really matter besides my relationship with Him. And He has promises that I know that are on my heart and that are in my mind. And I know that they'll come when they're supposed to come. So I think just getting a better understanding of Him and growing my relationship.
Hmm. And one more thing, you just reminded me of something, which is why we gotta go. Uh, you talked about growing with him and in him. Is there any step of faith that you are thinking about taking that would be a tangible way? I know we talked about some of the things that you do to worship him and be in relationship with him, but is there anything that you're looking forward to in advancing your faith that's a step you can take?
Um, Honestly, to be baptized,
Hmm.
I I wasn't even baptized as a kid because my mom wanted me to be able to have the freedom. So I would just say being baptized
Sure,
is the one thing just to really embrace the new life that he has given me.
most certainly. That's super cool. I know at you might know this, the Commons in East Lansing.
Hmm.
That's where I've gone for about the last year, probably. And I just think it's so cool how seriously they take baptisms, and especially within the college ranks. So I love that you said that. There were, even last Sunday, there were three folks who went out there and gave their testimony. And it's just like that strikes a chord with you every time you see that because you can, through hearing their story, you can understand that it's a tangible change. Like their life has been altered by the decision they've made to accept him into their heart. And I think that's really impactful and important what you said.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, Miss Swain, before we get out of here, is there anybody or anything that you want to shout out?
Um, I have a couple people.
Yeah.
Number one, Julia Bishop.
Ah.
And then you mentioned it before, but I would also say Caleb Coley because I think he was a big part of my faith also. Um, and Nala, she ran track and field and at Michigan State, so I would say her as well because she was like my going to church buddy. And then I have two more people. I have Nani that I want to thank, and then oh my gosh, I literally just forgot the last person. I don't remember who it was. I can't remember who it was, but in my hearts, and they were just in my mind. But I'll thank them in my head and in my prayers later
That's
because I
all.
cannot remember them.
Yeah, like Uncle Snoop said, right? In my heart and in my head. Uh,
Literally, love Snoop Dogg.
that's right. Yeah, shout out Nalani. I had to say that too. Is like from Michigan. Well, no. I won't even start there. From Southern Cal, from Redondo, over to Michigan State, now kicking butt with the Valkyries, Orlando. Let's go. That's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm blessed to have her in my life. She also went to church with me a couple times,
Okay.
and our friendship, I will forever cherish my relationship with her and my friendship with her.
Hmm, absolutely. Well, Jalen, thank you. Thank you for coming on the record. And I just am very fortunate. I know what I told you earlier, so I'll save that for, the previous conversation, but I meant what I said. And it's been super cool to hear from you and just understand your perspective on some of these things. And I'm thankful that we were able to do it in such a way. So I appreciate you.
Thanks. I appreciate you for having me on here. It was awesome.
Yeah. See y'all. Cool.